The edge of the universe wasn't that far from us. To be exact, it was 4.3 billion miles away from Earth. A smidgen past Pluto, and mankind's exploration ships from our earliest probes onward ran into some kind of invisible barrier. A force field at exactly that distance could be found in every direction we flew. That nonsensical realization sparked quite the uproar in the scientific community. Was everything that we'd witnessed with our deep space telescopes was some kind of mirage? Perhaps our entire reality was confirmed to be a simulation, unable to render past this set point. Never before had we had such a clear opportunity to define reality as we understood it. Humanity galvanized behind the idea of understanding it and learning how to escape from the box we found ourselves in. We were prisoners of soul. It was stubbornness that had militaries and scientific agencies throwing ships at the wall, time and again. The endeavors proved useless, yet for centuries, we'd hurled ship after ship at the problem. It had propelled the space industry to new heights, as we leapfrogged bases to launch from on Pluto and harnessed sleek designs. We poured more energy into the fusion cores of our ships, in the hopes that one would pierce the veil. Brute force at its finest. We were searching for anything that might work, guessing that there might be a needle in the massive haystack. The barrier proved entirely uncrossable, like a white hole that expelled matter faster than the speed of light at the event horizon. That theory, with our limited understanding, suggested that it might have a tunnel to another dimension somewhere, an opposite plane of relativity. 8 months ago, a ship had gone through the fabled outer limit, not to return. We hurled another drone through at those exact coordinates to see if the results were replicable, and it too vanished. "The world is watching," I remarked, checking that the harness was secure over my North American Space Force uniform. "The first manned flight through the gap. You and me, Sophia." My co-pilot cleared her throat to hide the nerves. "Took the ESU long enough to approve our mission, with all their tests. We have no clue where the hell we're gonna end up, or if we're ever coming back. No one in their right mind would volunteer for a mission like that, would they? The possibilities of what we can find are endless. No human has ever seen what lies beyond. The fundamental question of our time is why we're here. This perimeter, all that we see a reflection of reality that's a little too perfect. Astrophysicists like Novikov herself think someone put us here, in a cage. Don't you want to know why?" Sophia leaned back in the seat, staring at the deceptively empty space outside the windshield. "What if we're breaking out of the Garden of Eden, Preston? Maybe someone gave us a little slice of paradise here. Think how perfect Earth is, down to the exact damn proportions between the moon and the sun for eclipses. That's exactly why we need to make it out. A spoon-fed paradise will never be real. Knowledge of the truth, it's in our blood to pursue it. What if it's all a test of some higher being to see what we'll do? I'm ready to see the grand design." "That's awfully religious coming from you, soldier boy. The prospect of our imminent deaths prompting you to make amends with the G-Man? We're not going to die. We're going to make it through. To be clear, I didn't say anything about gods. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Shit, if you listen to us talk, nobody'd think I was the scientist. Godspeed, my friend. It's been an honor." Sophia's fatalist rhetoric wouldn't instill confidence in anyone, yet I didn't avert the course on the ship's computer. Our solar sails stretched proudly behind us, before detaching as we reached the final 1,000 miles. We were traveling at 1,000,000 miles an hour toward what could be a one-way death slide. My stomach twisted into knots, feeling my heartbeat pounding in the thick veins of my neck. It was difficult to breathe, which left beeping sounds on my wrist monitor. My blood oxygen was dropping, despite the perfectly maintained atmosphere. What if this vessel broke apart, and we were sucked into the vacuum? I wasn't sure if it'd have time to hurt if we were spaghettified in a black hole. Fuck. My hands gripped around the armrest, and I noticed Sophia averting her eyes. I thought about the years of training in simulated scenarios, from turbulent flight simulators to pretending to be marooned on a foreign world. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer, but I had to be a soldiernaut. Living life on the edge. The barrier was mapped out on every astral map, so I knew the exact moment our spacecraft's nose cleared the threshold. The speed on the dashboard climbed exponentially in a second, and the seat suddenly hummed with a teeth-rattling energy signature. The location data blinked out within a second, unable to triangulate its position using the field of the stars. The windshield looked like we were inside the sun, like a roaring hot jet of plasma had swallowed us. The artificial gravity shifted in an instant, and I felt as light as a feather. The instruments said it hadn't changed from its equilibrium. My organs felt like they were hypercharged within my body. Warning lights flashed at us, and alarms blared in a cacophony. My fingers tightened around the armrest, which ripped off beneath my touch. I'd only gripped it. A breath brought in way too much air, and made my lungs feel like they were bursting. I knew primarily that I had to let it out, and screamed in sheer terror. I could hear an undignified howl from Sophia as the torturous traversal remained unending. My blood was lighter fluid within my veins. Humans didn't belong here. The world tunneled down to a single point, a kaleidoscope that didn't make sense before the peaceful stars returned. I leaned forward, staring dumbfounded at the armrest in my hand, before tentatively sucking in a tiny gasp. We made it. You all right? Where the fuck are we? Pluto station, come in, Sophia tried over the radio, to the crackling sound of silence. We made it through the gap, do you copy? Over. I don't think they're going to answer. I told you we'd see the other side. I squinted at the instrument panel, while the harness continued to dig tighter. My eyes widened as I saw the number on the speedometer seemed to be sprouting zeros. What the fuck? We're not slowing down. A billion wait, that's a trillion no, that's faster than the speed of light. And it's still trying to go higher? That's bullshit. That makes no sense. Light itself would be bending. Our ship should be breaking apart. I tried to turn the ship to see if the controls were responsive at all, but instead, made us spin in dizzying circles. Oh my. The contents of my freeze-dried astronaut food found their way onto the floor as my head screamed. It was difficult to think with the acrid taste of puke in my mouth. I flailed out with a desperate hand to slam on the back thrusters, though I didn't know how our measly engines could counter whatever the hell was happening. The lurch was immediate and jarring. The pressure relaxed enough that I could tap the brake, where the computer was intended to cancel out the forces to zero. Something must have gone wrong with those functions, because our momentum swung just as sharply in reverse. Our spaceship was careening and tumbling through space out of control. We were going to die. Every mechanism had gone haywire. I found myself screaming my head off once more, the terror of a sensory nightmare engulfing me. The engines blew out from the swing of extreme forces and the stresses on the metal, leaving us only the emergency power. I struggled to open my eyes, and noticed we were hurtling through a field of asteroids according to the struggling terrain scanner. Those might have been millions of miles apart, but with how fast we were going. I poured the auxiliary power in the opposite direction we were traveling, by some miracle bringing it down to a few hundred miles an hour. That was when I saw the rock, whiskers in front of us. Steering was out, and there was a mere second before we slammed into it. That the vessel was designed for crashing into the Sol system barrier might have been our saving grace. The asteroid neutralized our forward momentum as we skidded through the silvery soil. What the fuck just happened? I screeched. You're the scientist here. You tell me. Sophia's eyes were wide. I don't fucking know. This violates every law of physics humanity has ever known. That portal gave us magic horsepower, I guess, 'cause that's the best explanation I can give you. That's not how portals work. Well, clearly, this one does. We have to get out of here. I snorted. Fat chance of that. Look around. We're crashed on an asteroid. Our engines are burned out, and our boat isn't flight-worthy if we somehow got it working. Fix those two problems, and we can't tap our fuel jets without straight-up violating causality. Then we call for help. Turn on the distress beacon. Who exactly is going to answer? Pluto Station Earth doesn't exist here. No other humans to ride in and save the day. No other humans, Preston. You said this was the work of higher beings. Maybe they'll hear our prayers. I don't see any sign of civilization around here, so we can cross out alien deities. From everything they've shown, if they exist, they want us to be really self-sufficient. Nobody's bailing us out. Sophia laughed with incredulity. So what? You're just going to do nothing? I stood up, trying to walk off the trials of my journey. I'm going to leave some notes about what happened to us, for when someone figures this shit out and comes looking for our skeletons. Then I'm going to explore this asteroid, since we died to come out and see it. Might as well take a spacewalk before we croak. Shouldn't you save your energy with our limited supply of food? Why? We're going to starve anyway. No sense prolonging the end. I'm getting my suit and taking a walk. Fine. You have fun with that. I will be making a distress message to send on loop in all directions and keep watch for any movement. Be my guest. It's our final resting spot regardless. We knew the risks of being the first, didn't we? You sound more hopeless than me during the portal ride, and I was wrong, right? Anything is possible here. What's with the sudden change of heart? Seeing that there's nothing out here cured me of my delusions. No pearly gates, no one waiting on the other side to wave the checkered flag. I'm sorry for being so pessimistic. I'm glad I'm not alone out here. Me too. With a heavy heart, I went over to don my spacesuit while Sophia fiddled with the radio. We always knew this had a high chance of ending with our deaths and abandonment, but it felt different now that it was an actuality. There was going to be a lot of time to kill. Perhaps I should read through the first contact binder one more time, on the slim chance my partner was right. The Earth Space Union hadn't sent us through the portal unprepared for that eventuality, though this was certainly an unconventional way to try to contact extraterrestrial intelligence. This universe was a strange one, where I found that I could run much faster and easier out on the asteroid in spite of a bulky spacesuit. That was entertainment for a day or two, but we'd been stranded out here for 3 weeks by now. I began to see the wisdom in Sophia's words about conserving my energy. Oxygen and water would be depleted quicker if I exerted myself. My mind was beginning to slip a bit from the stress, judging by the wild, fragmented dreams I had. We ran the heating on the ship as low as possible to conserve the emergency power supply, which was why my teeth were chattering now. I'd suggested to Sophia that we should end the looping radio transmissions and spend that power on keeping ourselves from freezing to death. The Earth Space Union had allocated enough food for a month's travel, but we were staring at cupboards that were getting empty. I'd begun rationing the food 3 days ago and could feel the hunger already creeping in. There was nothing to eat out here. When people get desperate enough, they'll eat inedible seat cushions or each other. The most basic of boundaries just break down. I'll step out into the vacuum before that happens. Maybe I should stop taking rations at all, if that's my out, so Sophia can have food for longer, but she'll never allow that. I placed a card down on the floor as we busied ourselves with a round of Carnival Run. Clown. That juggler card, poof. Neutralized. You had another clown? Sophia protested, throwing her hands up in exasperation. The juggler was supposed to force me to shuffle my cards and discard one at random. Bet, anyhow I just have to play my balloon animal instead. You had a balloon animal this whole time? That card could be changed into any role in the deck, and there was one in the whole collection. You tricked me into using my clown. Guilty as charged. You should see the look on your face, Preston. I guess if it becomes a serial killer, your tokens go to 0 and I. The wreckage of our ship suddenly rocked, as if buffeted by a gust of wind. That had me on edge in an instant, and I abandoned the cards on the floor. There was no breeze in the vacuum of space, at least in our universe. I crawled to the windshield and turned my gaze upward before my jaw fell open. Sophia joined me a second later with a delighted gasp. She also saw the parallelepiped ship above us, which appeared to be scanning us with some sort of light. My first thought was that it was a tractor beam, but we were not sucked up to our mysterious onlookers. I could feel my throat locking. I was at a loss for what to do. Who the fuck was piloting that ship? The design was completely alien, and of course it was, in this haywire physics universe. The writing was made of bizarre scratches that were nothing like our languages, as if I didn't know at once this wasn't being flown by humans. Someone must have answered Sophia's calls for help, and that was terrifying. We were at ease. We had no idea what they were their mercy. Like any good soldier, I tried to fall back on procedure. The first contact instructions had been drilled into my head. My partner was one step ahead of me, sending clicks counting upward in the hopes of communicating. That was when things got more peculiar. Every single function on the ship's computer came online, siphoning precious reserve power. Meanwhile, I saw data being downloaded without our consent. They weren't just probing us. They were trying to get into our systems, and were doing it at a concerningly quick pace. That seemed to be a hostile deed. I leapt into action and tried to shut down the systems. However, they remained online. I pulled out my Swiss Army knife and resigned myself to figure out what wires to cut. Sophia ran over to me, pushing me back from the console. "What are you doing?" she shouted at me. I pointed a finger toward the windshield. "What are they doing?" "They're going to have their hands on all of our data if you don't help me secure our proprietary." "Calm down. Even if they're hostile, you cut the wires and then what? They land and remove the data manually? Just breathe. These creatures got into our systems like nothing and overrode our control like nothing. They could trigger the self-destruct if they decipher the schematics." I pressed a hand to my head, unsure whether to abandon ship. She had a point. We could grab food and a tank of oxygen, but then what? We have 3D diagrams. It can't be that hard for them to glean that much, even if language is. Preston Carter. They also are our only hope at getting out of here alive. They haven't done anything to harm us. Maybe they're just curious. We're the aliens in their space. How do you think we would have reacted to a strange shipwreck that wasn't us right in our backyard? We want to know everything about them, and that's what's scary. I don't want to be a guinea pig for a mad scientist. They haven't answered your little number clicks. If they don't want to talk, then... Greetings. A stilted, inhuman voice chatted over the radio, stunning us both to silence. The hairs on my neck stood up. "You are trespassing in Vasker space. Your vessel is unknown. Your language is unknown. Furthermore, your ship schematics make no sense as a functioning apparatus. Identify yourselves at once." Sophia's mouth opened and closed several times before she turned a wide-eyed glance toward me. "You were saying about them not wanting to talk?" "Wow, Preston. They were trying to learn our language. How the fuck can they even?" I choked out. "It sounds like a mechanical voice. They have a program and a procedure to handle this. We need to respond to them. Real intelligent life with ships that run on this universe's logic. This is so exciting. Get a camera out to record. We must document this." "Slow down, Sophia." The scientist frowned at me, setting a handheld camera up on the dashboard herself after I failed to comply. "How do you think they're going to react to us saying we flew through a fucking portal?" "Better than if we don't answer." The mechanized voice came through our radio once more. "We can see you moving within your vessel. One of you appears to be holding a cutting instrument. We know your communicator was working from those clicks. Respond in some form, or we will be forced to assume you have hostile intent toward our people." "Drop the knife." Sophia hissed at me before scrambling over to the radio. "Vasker, we are, trying to figure out what to do. We're a scientific vessel from a planet called Earth. On behalf of humanity, I assure you that we come seeking peace and friendship and bear no ill will. That knife was when my friend was considering cutting the computer wires, which he, panicked." I scoffed. "What? I did not. Why are you telling them this?" The scientist ignored me, continuing her spiel. "We're terribly sorry for trespassing. I don't know how to convey this, but we seem to have been locked in some kind of, pocket dimension that was just our star system. I don't know if you know anything about that. We found a portal out, and our ship began going impossibly, or what we thought was impossibly fast. We lost control, and now we're stuck here. I can only ask your kindness to help us, as we'll die without immediate rescue." There was a very long pause from the aliens before receiving their response. I facepalmed at Sophia's insistence on telling them about the portal. "I do not know what to make of your story. If this is true, a pocket dimension that small can only have been artificially created. We agree. I'm going to take it you aren't the ones involved with this. The Vasker have no interdimensional capabilities. We are familiar with the ones who do, but we stay out of their way. They usually guard their breaches, the tunnels between planes. We didn't see any guards. We'd definitely like to know why they put us there." The being seemed to try to laugh in its own way. "You'd have to ask the illusions themselves. We know nothing of you or why things were done to you. We may choose to tell you what we know of them if we decide to help you. We would be most grateful. Wouldn't we, Preston?" I flinched as my coworker pointed to me. Yes. We're lost, and our ship is a bizarre creation. The amount of power it generates is suicidal for any thruster system," the alien commented. "It is no wonder your ship did not function. This is like it was created in a universe where velocity requires thousands of times more force, and perhaps that's an understatement. I am struggling to decipher it. We're equally stunned by the physics contrast, but in reverse. Also, we've never met aliens." "Is that so? So you are not a species from the Alliance trying to trick us? You just appeared inside of our border checkpoints, so I am inclined to believe your portal claim, but—" "The Alliance?" Sophia asked. "We really have no idea who they are. Do they build ships that come out of nowhere?" "No, but they could always start." I folded my arms. "You sound like military, sir or madam." I have no particular affinity for either characterization. It is not applicable to my species. Call me whatever you wish. My given name is Mikri, and I am of the Vasker military. Mikri. I'm Preston Carter, and my partner is Sophia Aguado. Nice to meet you. Yeah. I'm glad you at least have names, or this could have gotten awkward fast. Is also a member of the military not a threat to you. To be clear, I must ask if these Alliance are a threat? To you? The creature gave its uncanny version of a laugh. No. You're not very forthcoming. Who is this Alliance, Mikri? Sophia pressed. 3 species we are at war with. They wish to destroy us, and only us, as an entity. No doubt they will attempt to recruit you and turn you against us. You do not need to know more. If we are to work together, you will respect our privacy. We do not share things as easily as your species seems to. Why do they want to destroy these Vasker? Are the Alliance an evil entity, or have the Vasker done something wicked against them? I'm lacking the details to decide who the threats are, if not all of them. Sophia hesitated, leaning over the console for a moment. We hope you'll come to trust humanity, but we won't pry. You don't have to share anything you don't wish to. And you will not nose into our business in places where your attention is not permitted? The scientist narrowed her brown eyes at the strange question, but seemed to realize we needed their help, regardless of how suspicious Mikri sounded. We're your guests. You have my word that we'll do our best to respect your wishes. At least that is an honest promise, given that your sort's penchant for irksome curiosity will inevitably become a problem. I have requested and received permission to help you, humans. Permission to come aboard? I lingered on the mixed messages. Perhaps it was a good sign the Vasker captain asked to board when we clearly couldn't stop them. Permission granted. Very well. We're landing now. We will tow your vessel and bring you 2 onto ours. Do you have any weapons aboard? No. We're an exploratory mission, Sophia jumped in. Well, we have no weapons, other than the Swiss Army knife, I interjected. Which is really more of a tool. Mikri's distrust could be felt through the line. That better be the truth. We intend to vet your story. Any attempts at hostility or giving us trouble, we are not afraid to use force, humans. Sophia drew a shaky breath. We understand. You're a literal lifesaver. Thank you, Mikri. Do you have a rank, sir? No. I lead. That is all. Right. I was just ensuring I addressed you with the proper respect. We'll see you soon. The Vasker disconnected from the line without affirming that much, but I could see the ship gracefully touching down next to us. Bipeds in sleek, black suits disembarked in a hurry. While we didn't have weapons, it didn't escape my notice that they had rifles slung across their chests. I couldn't make out much about them from this far, though they didn't look that eldritch. It was unnerving to peer out and know they were an intelligence that wasn't human. However, unlike a half hour ago, at least Sophia and I weren't guaranteed a slow, painful death withering away. I didn't trust the Vasker, but they had ridden to our rescue. Perhaps I could reserve judgment until we learned a bit more about them. The Vasker appeared to have form-fitting suits, though it was tough to tell if their heads were actually that poofy. The first thing I noticed, as one's grip pushed the interior airlock inward, was that they appeared to have segmented claws, that is, they bent at two joints, like ours. While human fingers were like little hot dogs inside astronaut gloves, theirs were curved and tapered. Their bodies seemed stocky, with broad chests and legs. Up close, I thought their weaponry most resembled carbines. The guns were navy blue, which popped against the metallic suits. Get out of my face, the team leader remarked, shoving me with the barrel of his rifle. Up against the wall. Raise your appendages where I can see them. Mikri? The alien grunted in agreement and waved to its squadmates. I raised my hands cautiously. Adranus had taken over my throat as the Vasker posse boarded our vessel. You don't need the suits. This cabin is pressurized, there's oxygen. Unless you, don't breathe that, but if you don't breathe that, your ship won't have the right mixture for us. We do not breathe oxygen. We will study the atmospheric composition here and ensure that ours is conducive to your continued survival. Sophia interlocked her fingers behind her head. It's your ship, we don't mean to inconvenience you. What do you breathe? Is your world? What did I say about not prying for us to share anything we did not offer up? She only asked the most basic question about what they breathed. Surely we must know something about the first other life forms we've found, on a biological level. This is harmless stuff. Our world will be fine for you. Our suits will remain on, and that's final. Were either of you injured in your crash? I don't believe so, sir. Thank you for coming to our aid. I'm sure you have your reasons for not matching my enthusiasm, but we're very excited to discover we're not alone. Sophia offered an earnest, toothy smile, which caused Mikri to tilt its no. I was going to say his from now on, for the sake of clarity. He said he didn't care. There was a whole existence here out of our reach. I do not understand your facial expressions. Please specify their meanings. I tugged my lips up, then down. Happy, sad. Done. It's more complicated than that, my squadmate protested. The Earth Space Union left a chart in that binder, in case we ever needed to communicate through pictographs. It should have the human emotions and correlating expressions. Mikri stared as the scientist pointed at the first contact manual, which a Vasker had thrown onto the floor as they rummaged and ripped apart every compartment on our ship. The military crafts leader took a moment to catch on to what the pointer finger was suggesting. Did an intelligent species with segmented claws never develop that nonverbal to show each other where to look? The alien found the page and took a picture of it with some kind of rectangular device. He held the paper up in front of him, as if comparing me to it. Nervous? The Vasker guessed, helmet focused on me. I swallowed hard, though I didn't deny what he'd said. Why are you nervous? My eyes widened, glancing at Sophia for support. Because you have guns? And I have no idea who you are and what your intentions are. That is untrue. I have told you that I am with the military and that I am here to help you. Unless you prove to be with the enemy. Tell me who you work for exactly and the history of how you came to be. Well, we're with the Earth Space Union. It's AC collective built to colonize and regulate space. Nations made pacts about how to divide the planet's land with supranational borders. There were mergers up in space, and that led to blocks at home, like the North American Combine, AW Whole Continent United. I work for their Space Force, Sophia seemed eager to introduce herself. I'm a scientist with the Eastern Atlantic Collaborative. First countries to join forces to colonize the outer planets after the Mars Rebellion left the future of spaceflight. Mikri turned his back on us. And you're working together now. Yes, I do not actually care. I was just putting you on the spot to test that you had a legitimate history. I assume you want to go home now, which will require us to fix your ship. I have no doubt you'll expect this favor from us also. We'd like to go back, so we can tell Earth what's on the other side, and yes, you're the only ones who can help us with any of this. We don't know where we are in relation to the portal home. Everything we know about engineering doesn't work here, and we want to talk to these illusions if they're behind all this. Allow us to get our footing, please, Mikri. Humanity would be in your debt forevermore. We're not a threat, I added. I am not so foolish to believe that, Preston, but your colleague speaks well for you both. Very well, Mikri determined. The Vasker have already agreed to send you home. You will stay in an installation on our planet, Kalka, until we are able to return you. We saw the general area where your emissions began, and will monitor the area closely. Once your people send another craft, we will have the breach's location. Is that acceptable? You mean it? I tried to hide my shock, though judging by how the alien glanced at the expressions chart, he knew my amazement. Yes, of course. That would be incredible. May I ask, why you're doing this? Preston. Sophia hissed. The Vasker stood still for several seconds before beckoning to us. I'm doing this because I have chosen to, and so have my people. No questions, remember? Where was I? In addition, we will compare the physics of your universe and repair your ship to alternate between the two. Now don your spacesuits and come with me before I give more thought to why I'm aiding you. Gladly, I grumbled. The two of us hurried into our spacesuits, under the watchful gaze of the captain. His body language screamed of impatience. The Vasker had said no questions, but perhaps we needed a diagram of their emotional cues as well. I'd have to drop a suggestion that it might be helpful, since any direct inquiries didn't please them. Surely they wouldn't wear the suits on Kalka, which would make it easier to glean their tells. Why did Mikri say he's not so foolish as to believe we aren't a threat? What have we done to him? I stared out at the asteroid's surface, while the Vasker hurried us along toward his boxy ship. I hoped this ride would be less of a roller coaster compared to our entry. They are strange, but they offered us everything we need. Shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. Everyone had assumed this was a one-way trip, so what was Earth going to make of this when we returned home and told them what we'd learned? To the rest of humanity, we were missing astronauts who never checked in. They had no idea how limiting and small their universe was. I had to find out as much as possible without seeming like I was nosing into Mikri's business. My goal was to search for any clues about who the Vasker were and how they lived. Inference would be our greatest tool to learn about them. The vessel's interior appeared to be one single room, the bridge. No appliances, no amenities. There were only rows of seating, consoles, and weapons lockers. We were situated near the front of the vessel, by the windshield and what I imagined was the captain's chair. The rest of Mikri's unit filed back to the ship, sitting down and avoiding talking to us. There was some chatter in their own tongue. I wondered whether the program to communicate with us was only available to the leader. None showed any signs of removing their suits for so much as to drink, eat food, or relieve themselves. Were all of their biological functions handled by this exoskeleton, perhaps? That was something I took away about their customs, though I couldn't help but question the reasons behind that. Our magnetic hooks latched onto the cargo, Mikri informed us. It took a second to realize he meant our ship. You may remove your helmets. It is breathable for you. I lifted my helmet, stuffing it under the chair after sucking in a test breath. Thank you. We're honored to be on your ship. I am not sure what the sudden flattery is about, but no matter. It's a few dozen trillion miles. Your units must be microscopic to Kalka. It'll be a few hours. Do whatever it is that humans do to occupy yourselves. Sophia weighed how to respond. Sir, that most often is to talk. Are you open to getting to know us? What we call small talk. No. I will engage with you regularly, as I have been chosen to test your abilities and to teach you of this universe. That will be exasperating enough, but we don't need to be friends. You're right, sir. We don't need to. However, if we're going to be working in close contact, we should be friendly. I will chaperone you. I will help you. Kindly do not bother me further with menial concerns about my affability. Nice guy, Sophia mouthed at me, which caused Mikri to look at the expression sheet with confusion. I giggled as the Vaskers turned around with disgust. Yeah. Real nice. The spaceship had accelerated to astronomical speeds. Only now did I have time to process just how far a vessel could travel in a few hours here. Did the speed of light even exist in this universe? It seemed like velocity wasn't capped at all, if going trillions of miles was as trivial as flying from New Boston to Los Angeles. I leaned back in my chair, my thoughts running every bit as fast as the ship. We were going to be living with these aliens, who had no personality, 4 months at best. It could be years, if Earth shut down the program after we vanished. What if the accommodations were lacking? What did Mikri mean about testing our abilities? Nothing about the Vaskers' behaviors seemed fond of our presence, so there must be something they wanted from us. I didn't know what their ulterior motive was, but that was a terrifying thought. My throat clammed up again, and that was when I noticed the skin burned like sandpaper. I twirled my helmet around in my hands, only to realize I hadn't refilled the drinking bag since the last spacewalk. Deciding water wasn't a menial concern, I opted to seek the aliens' attention. Mikri? I called out to the captain. May I please have some water? The Vasker froze, taking several moments to formulate a reply. Water? Yeah. I'm thirsty as F fun times. You know hydration, drinking fluids. Water. 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen? I'm familiar with the molecule. I don't have any to provide to you right now. Can it wait a few hours? I just asked for yeah, I guess. I won't die. Good. Write down a list of your basic needs for us, so we can ensure nothing is missed. Sophia furrowed her brow at the aliens, before passing me her helmet with a sympathetic smile. I took a few gulps, making sure to ration it since this Vasker military outfit couldn't be bothered to accommodate our most fundamental need. Mikri acted like I'd asked him for Kalka's nuclear codes, not a swig of the basic building block of life. Maybe it wasn't the basic building block of life in this zany universe, which was another thing humans would have to know. These beings behaved stranger and stranger by the minute. After how I'd been handled on the ship so far, I was even more uncertain about the accommodations these Vasker would provide.